1. We are a Type 1 incident management team. We are comprised of federal, state, local agencies from across the Southwest primarily. And so we've worked in this area before. We have experience working with the higher complexity fires. So the teams that have been here over the past few days have set up things really well for us. We've transitioned. Many of those people are still here sharing their information with us, so we're in a really good place. We've assumed command of the fire effective this morning at 6 a.m. What I can tell you, the Sawmill fire is currently 40,350 acres is our latest estimate. Again, that's an estimate. We know our mapping is not totally accurate right now. The fire's continuing to grow. It's based on visual estimates that we're seeing in the field. As we're able to get resources up and map it, that will continue to adjust. The key thing is not so much the map, but really what's happening on the ground. So we had really good progress yesterday with the reduced winds. We were able to take advantage of that and use that to our favor. So firefighters made progress. We're up to about 20% containment, which is great news. The concern is really, though, and the story today is the wind. We're expecting a prolonged wind event starting today, continuing through Saturday. In addition to the winds that's really going to drive this fire, the humidity is going to play a role in that. So especially once we hit 20% humidity or below, we expect to see fire activity increase. Conditions are right for fire movement, and so we're concerned with the possibility there. So we're really focusing on doing what we can, where we can, safely and effectively. Today, as the winds are still low, we have air resources available, some helicopters and air tankers available to use right now. If the winds get too high, that's going to limit our use of those. So we want to take advantage of those critical resources while we can. So it's especially important for the public to understand, if you fly, we can't. And what that means is if you have a drone or UAS and it's up in the air, if we see that, we have to ground all of our fire aircraft. And that can cause significant delays in suppression efforts, safety concerns. So we don't want to go there. So please stay out of our airspace so we can do what we can to adjust the fire from the air while we have that window of opportunity to take advantage of.
Is the fire moving east or 90 or I-10?
The fire, there's growth in some areas, and so what we saw is that southwest flank is still kind of holding in that area, but those other areas, we're still working on making sure that it's staying in that area. So we don't know exactly where that's going to move. We've got firefighters worked putting retardant and slowing the fire area, but until we're able to call those areas contained, there's still the possibility. And so what we're doing is continuing to put our firefighters on the ground, building line, using retardant where we can do that, but looking for, if we get spots, fires, things like that with winds, there's still potential for growth in other areas.
How many structures have firefighters been able to see?
I don't have that information offhand, but we can follow up and see what we can find for you. We do have approximately 600 people currently assigned to the fire.
Can you kind of explain a little bit more about the Type 1 incident team and what makes that different from a crew that was already out here?
Sure. This incident has kind of increased in complexity. It started at the Type 3, which is the local level organization, and then it was with the Type 2 team, and that team has a little bit more experience handling more numbers, increased complexity, and then our team just has a little bit more beyond that. And so again, with the increase in numbers, the increase in complexity, with the number of homes potentially threatened, the proximity to I-10, the resources out here, they just wanted to, we have the team members that have experience looking at kind of what the fire is. There's always a plan. We reevaluate the plan throughout the day. And so we're looking at things like what the weather is going to do, what the fuels is like. So we have our incident meteorologist who provides this information. We have our fire behavior analyst who's providing kind of what fire activity we can expect to see out there. And so those kind of players come together, and we just have the experience to provide the overhead and the direction for this team. Again, utilizing many of the resources that have been here all along, and providing that solid framework under what's called the incident command system. And the incident command system, it's really a scalable system. We're flexible. We scale up and down accordingly. And so it's really plug and play based on the current needs at the time.
What about evacuations?
Evacuations, the Sheriff's Office is providing that information. Pima County, primarily on their Facebook and Twitter, is the best source of information right now.
83 that's closed now, any estimate on when it's going to be the fires look like they're distance away? Are you guys using it for other means?
We're evaluating conditions there, and so we'll be working with ADOT to try to reopen that as soon as it's safe to do so. So for conditions, you can check the ADOT 511 information.
Online is securing a type 1 incident. You guys use national resources. What national resources are you guys using?
So national resources, the fire system we use to start with the closest available resources, and then we ramp up from there. And so what we've done is, we use the local firefighters, the local resources, all of our local fire departments from across southeast Arizona are playing a critical role in this fire, helping us in suppression efforts. And then we have other resources. We have hotshot crews assigned. We have the air tanker that's here assisting the fire. So we're able to just tap into the regional and national level there to bring those resources in.
Any increase in air ops today?
So we have 3 Type 3 helicopters, 1 Type 2, 1 Type 1 helicopter, and then 5 air tankers available to us, and that includes the VLAT, the very large air tanker.
It might be hard, but the whole fire has burned or is burning 40,300 acres. Do we know about how big it is actually burning right now?
Again, the acreage is evolving right now, and so what we know is when we report that acreage, that's really kind of the footprint of the landscape. It doesn't necessarily mean that's all burned. It's a mosaic pattern generally of burned and unburned vegetation. And again, too, it's just an estimate. So the best source for information throughout the day on INCIWeb, on the right, there's a link to an interactive fire map, and that picks up the MODIS, the heat where the satellites fly over. And again, it's not super precise, it's only periodically throughout the day, but that gives us kind of a near real-time estimate throughout the day of where the fire is the most active. And then we're ground truthing that with our crews on the ground, looking at where we're working. But again, as the fire is continuing to grow, we're monitoring that. We're having our crews out there, and we'll continue to beef up that mapping product right now. But just know the current map doesn't totally reflect the fire activity on the ground.
Being so windy, are you guys changing anything as far as how you're fighting this fire today?
So we're going to continue to use air resources while we can do so. But we still have our firefighters on the ground, and they play a critical role. We're also looking at contingency planning if fire activity increases. If we see more growth, where would we go? So we're planning right along the fire perimeter as well as looking forward at what the possibilities are going to be given the conditions that we have and what we know is coming.
Any structures right now you're concerned right now that are close by that are being part of the fire?
The same communities with the evacuations and things, we're working closely with emergency management to keep those folks in the loop. So we're just going to continue to work with the communities around us right now to ensure that we can do what we can, but we just encourage the community to be prepared with the ready, set, go message is important, and so staying tuned to the emergency management officials and following their direction is very important.
I know that we didn't necessarily see a difference from last night to this morning in regards to containment in the acreage. Do you guys feel like maybe you made a difference overnight, or do you feel like anything changed on your end?
So I think with the containment, I think where we're at is we're still seeing some activity. We still saw some heat overnight, and so we know there's still activity out there. And so what we're doing is even in areas where we made progress and put some line in, and we're holding that, while there's pockets of heat in there, we still want to go back and make sure that's secure before we're able to call that contained.
How important is it, you saying that you need some progress? How important is it for people to understand the importance of not sparking, not starting the fire?
Wait. Okay, so especially with the red flag conditions that we're going to have today and the decreased humidity, conditions are ripe for a wildfire. And so it's very important for the public to be cautious with anything that could cause a spark. One less spark means one less fire. So this is a time to be vigilant, to please secure your tow chains. Please be sure that you're not parking on tall, dry grass. Avoid mowing your lawn on the hot, dry, windy days, because even your lawnmower blade can strike, the metal can strike a rock and spark a wildfire. So be especially cautious, especially while we're in this red flag conditions. Okay?
So what's the plan for crews today? What side of the fire are they working, and what are they doing?
Crews are continuing to... Today, our crews continue to strengthen the areas we made progress on yesterday. So we're going back and patrolling areas mopping up some areas, going back, strengthening our line that's on the ground. Again, we're going to continue to use retardant and water where we can do so safely and effectively. So really taking advantage of the aerial resources while we still have that window of opportunity, and then utilizing our ground crews to continue that progress that we saw yesterday.
Do you have any idea of when you might have to ground all of the aerial crews?
It's really going to depend on the wind and the conditions. And so right now it's looking good, and we'll just kind of have to see when that starts to increase. We expect to see that red flag. It's supposed to kick in today at noon and continue to 7 p.m. tonight. And then it's already forecasted again for tomorrow, is my understanding, and we're looking at into Saturday as well. So it's going to continue to increase as we go through the week here. Okay.
Thank you.
And we'll have the update. We're working on getting that finalized. It'll go on AC Web.